It's late spring in Devon, southwest England. These fields at the Orway Porch Farm have been home to this flock of shaggy sheep and their ancestors since the 19th century. England can be a wet and chilly place, and every day this flock stand around in these fields without one heck of a lot to do, except follow one another around. So it's just as well these Devon and Cornwall long wool rams are wrapped up warm in their winter coats. But not for much longer. Summer is on its way, and the sheep are due a trip to the barbers. The barber in question is shearer Gavin Stevens. Each of these ewes has around 7 kilos of wool on its back, while the rams have up to 20 kilos. But an experienced shearer like Gavin can give a sheep a smart short back and sides in just 3 minutes, allowing him to get through up to 150 sheep every day.
I've been shearing about 24 years. The wool takes 12 months to grow, and the fleece, you've only got a couple of minutes to cut it off, so if you ruin it and cut it in 2 or 3 places, the wool's useless.
Every spring, around 16.5 million sheep are fleeced in the UK, and around 2/3 of the wool ends up under our feet as carpet. This is the Buckfast Mill on the edge of Dartmoor. It's 8 a.m, and the first of the day's 6,000 fleeces are just being delivered. As soon as they arrive, they're inspected by grader Mark Berry.
Basically, we're looking for a fleece that's quite clean, so the better the farmer looks after it for us, the better it is.
White wool will be used for light colours, darker wool for darker colours. Mark also grades wool according to its staple.
The staple is basically the length of the fibre on the fleece. And we're looking for a strong fibre that doesn't break up.
At this stage, the fleeces are a bit like a teenager's hairdo, and they're far too matted and greasy to be turned into yarn. So the first step is to blend the fibres into a smooth down before removing the grease and dirt with a 6-stage washing process. At this stage, 30% of the fleece's weight is dirt and grease. But the grease they remove is put to good use by being purified to produce lanolin for hand creams, soaps and ointments, something you might like to remember the next time you smear some on your face. 3 tons of wool are processed by this machine every week, and after a final rinse in soft, clear water from the River Dart, it's then dried and blown into storage bins, where it's left to regain its original structure. The resulting clean, downy wool is then lubricated and baled up, ready for the next stage. At the moment, the wool is still too rough and matted to be turned into thread, so the bales are fed to this monster. This is the carding machine, and it uses a vicious sequence of progressively finer spiked combs to whip the wool into shape and turn it into a neatly groomed sheet. This sheet is then sliced into strips to produce what are known as slubbings. These slubbings are twisted to form something resembling yarn, and just minutes after the bales were fed in at the far end of the machine, reels of this yarn are removed. But it's not quite ready for weaving just yet, as Martin Distin demonstrates.
When it comes off out of the machine, it's soft. It's been rubbed together, but it's not hard, so it's easy to break. It just breaks quite easy.
So, to make them strong enough, the slubbings are loaded onto a spinning frame and spun together at 5,000 revolutions per minute to produce a single ply yarn. Additional strength can be gained by twisting the strands together to create 2 or 3 ply yarn. But if every carpet was the colour of most sheep, we'd probably all stick to wood flooring. So before it leaves the mill, it's dyed in massive vats. Colour-fast dyes are combined to produce an array of subtle shades, while the whole process is monitored by a computerised system to ensure precise matching to the colour required. After drying, the finished bales are allowed to cool and condition naturally before loading onto lorries for transport to the next factory. The Dorset town of Axminster has been synonymous with carpet making since Thomas Whitty began making them here in 1755. Since then, the name Axminster has become a generic term for a particular type of woven carpet, and they're made by companies across the world. But Axminster still has its own company, and every year they produce hundreds of different designs. Those designs begin with Gary Bridge and his team. Gary's been coming up with carpet designs for years and has seen the job transformed by the ubiquitous computer.
Used to mix colours, mix paints, and everything was hand-drawn. Then about 15 years ago, computers were developed, which have taken a lot of the hand-painting side out of it and the mixing colours side out of it. So now most of it's computer-generated.
Before the advent of computers, translating the design onto the loom involved stamping thousands of holes into instruction cards like these, one hole for every row of carpet fibre. As you can imagine, it was an excruciatingly slow process.
We did one project where if we'd have stamped the cards in the traditional way, it would have taken us 12 years to stamp the cards.
These days, Gary produces over 1,000 new designs every year, for every floor from the bedroom of a modest guest house to the entrance hall of a royal palace. The weaving begins when the instructions for the finished design are fed from the computer to the giant loom. This loom is connected to up to 9,000 bobbins, and it can produce carpet over 4.5 metres wide. Keeping an expert eye on the loom is Robert Herbert, or Herbie as he's known to his friends. Herbie has been here for nearly 40 years, and it's up to him to make sure the loom doesn't skip a beat. First, white cotton fibres are pulled through from the back of the loom to form a series of parallel threads called the warp. Next, a giant needle weaves a coarse thread between them. This thread is called the weft, and once woven together, the warp and weft form a tightly knitted mesh. The loom then draws upon up to 16 different colours of thread, fed from bobbins loaded onto boards at the back of the loom. This thread is cut to length and stitched to form tufts between the weft and the warp. The more tufts in the carpet, the better the quality. The process repeats hundreds of times every hour, and a typical contract carpet will have around 120,000 tufts in every square metre. But with so much of the typical home covered in carpet, it's essential it's resistant to a carelessly dropped cigarette or candle. So, over in the lab, Philip Stone is testing carpet for flame resistance. First, he tests a piece of synthetic carpet. When the flame is removed, it continues to burn. By comparison, when Philip tests the new wool carpet, when he removes the flame, it immediately self-extinguishes. This natural flame resistance is one good reason why wool is still in use today, and our fields aren't full of spontaneously combusting sheep. Back on the factory floor, the new carpet undergoes a meticulous quality check on a special tilting table. Backlighting the carpet helps them to spot any missing fibres or wrong colours. But with over 100,000 individual tufts in every square metre, it's a painstaking process for inspectors like Jackie Demke.
What I've actually found here, 2 red spots in the black frame, which must be taken out and the right colour sewn in. So this will be marked up with yellow cotton here, and these can be mended on the roller behind.
With any repairs complete, the carpet is fed into a kind of mower which trims it to ensure all the fibres are the same length, giving a perfectly smooth finish. But nothing goes to waste, because the cuttings are bagged up and sent back to the wool mill to be turned into underlay. But the carpets aren't all dispatched the moment they roll off the production line. So they're stored in the mother of all carpet warehouses. The only trouble is, with thousands of different designs stored here, it would be easy to lose track of the ones they need. So on Driver Paco's forklift truck is a computer which remembers where every single one is stored, wherever it might be hiding. Back at Sandown, the speed of fitters Ben and Dave would have given the racehorses a run for their money. And just 45 minutes after they started laying the carpet, they're putting on the finishing touches. Having fleeced a flock of sheep a few months earlier, what was once their straggly winter coat has been transformed into a carpet fit for a prestigious executive suite.